Hi, I'm Tammy Smith, and I'm gonna give you a preview of the CIC 3-star cross country here at Stableview in Aiken. It's their inaugural FEI event. Very excited to be here. We drove all the way from Southern California. We competed here also last year, and just to see the improvements and all of the additions is really incredible. The cross country has changed significantly, so I'm really excited to get out there and ride it. We go out of the start box, and the difference that you have here at Stableview is there's a lot of trees, and you're trying to be very efficient with getting to the first, second, third, and fourth fences. You're trying to be very efficient and smooth, and so approaching each of these jumps with my horse, I'm going to be running my bomb. I'm actually not running Fleeceworks Royal because she leaves for Buccolo, so I'm talking about my bomb when I do this cross country. Just going to the first fence, it's a really nice rampy, inviting first fence, and I just want to try to get him relaxed and smooth out of the box. I always like to think that the slow way is kind of the fast way, and my horse starts to open up his gallop going down to fence 2. The trees kind of open up going to fence 2, and so you're able to get a pretty good shot. I'm not going to swing out too far to the left to fence 2. I'm going to try to cut that turn and jump right of center to be, again, efficient on my time. And it gives you kind of a nice looping stride, bending around the 2-star table there, and we head down over to the infamous arena jump. This is a very unassuming vertical that you would think was no big deal, but I actually had a stupid run out at it last year, so I wouldn't be angling that. I'd be going pretty straight and riding it pretty tough, and then just making your bending line to your open oxer and ride that really positively. It's a pretty big open oxer and wide spread there, so with a bit of a downhill drop. We then head kind of off to the left and get several tables. Just kind of, you want to be really smooth here. Again, just jumping everything right at a stride and trying to keep all of the lines as efficient as possible. So the hammock is there, and then you bending line to this table, which I'm going to try to cut a little bit hard right and stay to the inside of B. That's an AB, which is interesting. You know, if you had an awkward jump over A and you circled, that would be a 20 penalty. So I feel like there's a lot of jumps that first bit, and then you get on and you get on with it, and you jump this big picnic table at fence 5, and I feel like the horses will kind of start to get more of in a flow. The water is a nice in. It's a bench type jump, but you want to get deep to that hanging log going out because it's got quite a big drop on the landing, and you want to get close to that so that they jump up and around it and land softly. You got a pretty good trek gallop down. This is kind of the first part where you're galloping, and you can gallop over that triple bar and back up the hill. I feel like the horses will kind of be in a rhythm and have a really good gallop here. We then, the 3-star will then actually go around this table and jump the open oxer, and you'll jump the open oxer down to the bank right in front of you. The bank isn't very big, but you want to press them up to that and then kind of press them off of it, and it's a direct 4 to a pretty massive open right corner, and it rides quite big. There was quite a bit of trouble there last year, and you can't really see it, but the ground kind of falls away to the right, and then you gallop that corner and you head on down to the X jump over just a big fly fence, which is nice. Give the horses confidence. up the hill, galloping up the hill strong, and you go up a mound that's, quite undulating, and then back down the other side, and you have a very interesting terrain type jump, which we don't see a lot of. There's not a takeoff from the, there's not really a takeoff on that jump, and you come up to it, the brush, which you're going to see off to the left on this mound. So the horses kind of jump it soft, but it's actually kind of an intimidating type jump for a horse because they don't have a takeoff. So you got to ride it strong as well. You just don't want to ride it too strong and get too big of a jump, and then have what you have after that is a bending 4 strides to a pretty big corner with a very narrow opening. After you jump that corner, then you bend the line in front of this tree to the other corner, which is, pretty significant. You want to be to the inside of that tree. You don't want to make the time, you don't want to be on the outside of it. So I think that's going to be, I think it's a very good combination for my type of horse, but it'll be very interesting how the horses read and jump that. And the advanced side, if you have a good turning horse to jump that corner, but it'll be an interesting ride there for sure. Then a really nice good gallop down to this hay rack, which is just a fly fence, and you just keep your rhythm and keep them going. The stronger horses, like my mare, I would maybe get her a little bit underneath that table to get a better half halt and get her paying a little bit more attention, because she can get strong. But the black horse will just keep on coming down to these jumps, and again, just staying in a really good rhythm through the trees and just trying to find your line that's the most efficient and most direct. You'll then turn to the water, and the direct water for the 3-star is a chevron in to a boat and then out over a triple brush. You can also swing around and do the triple log, which is the same as the 2-star in the advanced, and then to the boat to the triple brush. But if you're trying to make the time, you definitely want to jump that chevron in directly into water, and then it's you just punch them back over that triple brush, and a good nice gallop down this next hill, which will get them really long and strung out, and you have to do some balancing once you get down the hill to the big table to corner, which you have a couple options going through these trees and what line you're going to want to take so that you're the most efficient. I'm going to probably do the one kind of in the middle, jump just right of center of that brush table down to that corner, and the distance is pretty open, so you can kind of keep coming to that. Gallop a long ways back up the hill. It's you can't really see it, but there's a little bit of an undulating hill here, which I think will start to take the effects of the horses and what their endurance is. And you're gonna then jump this table, another table right out of stride, back down into the field. This is actually going to be quite interesting in the 3-star. The striding is quite big, and so you want to meet that on an open step so that you can get the 3 and then the 2 out. You might see a 4 to a 3, but I don't think that that's what the captain was intending. So I think it's really going to be an accuracy test there, and really a test of your horses, whether they're straight and honest to those skinnies, because they're quite skinny. Then back in galloping mode and down over a big wide table, kind of a drop landing, gallop stretch continuing on. What's so amazing about Stable View and this new property is that you just get such a great galloping fitness test. This would be a great last run probably before Fair Hill, because the hill is just so great to kind of open them up. You kind of make the turn, and You have just an open bench table, or I guess it's an open oxer, but it's quite wide. You want to be able to meet that pretty deep so that, your horses get across it. Just now coming down to a bit of a vertical upright brush, just another fence. It's not very significant, but I do think that because the jumps have been significant, you're going to have to a little bit pull on the reins there. And you're now approaching the last water, which is an angled brush, kind of landing on land, but then you're cantering through the water, so it'll be very interesting how the horses read that and what they do. They should be fine at this level, but like my horse can be a little bit spooky, so it'll be interesting whether he shies from the corner of that water, and then your distance gets kind of muffled, so you have to really hold your line and make sure that you're positive through that, and then off galloping down to the last fence and through your finish flags.
Hello and welcome to Aiken, South Carolina, to Stable-View's Oktoberfest International Horse Trials. It's the first time we've had international eventing here in Aiken, and what a wonderful facility at which it will make its debut. It's day 2, it's cross country day. We have a leaderboard made up of dressage and show jumping results yesterday, and a couple of withdrawals today, Jenny.
Yes, we have Fleeceworks Royal being withdrawn with Tammy Smith, so you will see Doug Payne and Getaway moving up into second place there on those standings. We also have Bobby Meyerhoff withdrawn with Rascal Rat.
So looking back at the show jumping yesterday, the track set by Mark Donovan was tricky enough, and it caused a real shake-up of the leaderboard. I mean, Boyd had come from well outside the top 5 up there to 3rd place. But we saw clears from both of Tammy Smith's rides and from this horse, Getaway, a very, very exciting horse.
Yeah, 5 clears in all. So 23.8% clear show jumping rate over Mark Donovan's course, definitely shaking things up. See Boyd Martin there with Kira. They now have moved up into 3rd place after that withdrawal of Tammy Smith and Fleeceworks Royal.
Leslie Law and Voltaire de Tray, just a 9-year-old horse, one of 2 9-year-old horses to jump clear over Mark Donovan's track yesterday, and that helps him up into the hunt here in the International 3-Star as well. As we stand at the moment, the advanced is actually out there on the cross-country. We're just very interested in listening to that to see how many time penalties are being picked up. It's quite interesting about, the level of horses we have here, how they're going to deal with that cross-country. I mean, a real contributor to the quality of the show jumping we saw over Mark Donovan's track yesterday. It's really difficult for a designer to get a result when the surface is just jumping so very, very well. Well, Atwood are just one of our sponsors here this weekend. Another one is Columbia Jaguar Land Rover, the local Land Rover dealership. And Jaguar Land Rover here this weekend are demonstrating their new I-Pace vehicle, this electric SUV. It is the new choice in that market. It's one of only 10 such vehicles in the whole of the United States, and the I-Pace here with us at Stableview is the only one in the southeast of the United States of America. They launched the Range Rover Velar here last year at Stableview, and it's great to have this continuing relationship with some of the exciting new models in the Jaguar Land Rover model portfolio. Well, we're going to have our first horse and ride accommodation out on cross country here at 12:15, taking on Captain Mark Phillips' track, and we'll have a look at that in a little bit more detail as we get closer and closer to the action here at the Oktoberfest International Horse Trials from Stableview. But until then, let's leave you some messages from some of our sponsors.
Come on into Land Rover Columbia to learn about our amazing limited time offers. Now to the end of September, you can lease the all-new 2017 Land Rover Discovery Sport HSE model for only $359 a month. Or lease the all-new 2017 Land Rover Range Rover Evoque SE Premium model for only $369 a month. So come on into Land Rover Columbia and see what we can do for you.
Well, hello and welcome back to Aiken, South Carolina here for the Stableview Oktoberfest International Horse Trials. It's an incredible horse community here in Aiken, South Carolina, and amazingly, this is the first time we've had an International Horse Trials. And Barry and Cindy Olaf have been building this up now for some 5 years here at the Oktoberfest, Jenny.
Yeah, it's huge to have the 3-star being added. And it's going to be a thrilling day of cross country where we expect time to really play a factor. And if we can look to those time penalties...
Yeah.
We don't have 3-star data because this is our first 3-star. But if we look to the last 2 runnings of the advanced, we have about a 48% clear jumping rate. So expecting Captain Marks Phillips' course to shake things up from a jumping penalty standpoint, but time, I think, is really going to be the story here. In the last 2 years, we only had 1 pair make the optimum time. That was Boyd Martin and Steady Eddie.
Okay.
So we will see them here in the 3-star. So it's really a question of, can our overnight leader, Tammy Smith and My Bomb, really push the clock to try to take the win? They have 12 seconds in hand, so they don't need to make the time. They never have made the time at 3-star level.
Okay.
So if we look to their most recent run in advance, they had 1.6 time penalties at the American Eventing Championships when they won. We haven't seen them at 3-star level since 2015. So how much is that going to affect them? Tammy said she intends to go out fast and be efficient. So it really all depends on how much Tammy pushes the clock.
Well, he's called Lexus, and he does really cruise. She said, you might not think I'm going fast, but I am going to go fast here tomorrow at Stableview, when we spoke to her after jumping. And let's just catch up, if you didn't watch it earlier on, some of the highlights of our jumping. Gave us this leaderboard. Now, Tammy actually held overnight second position, but withdrew Fleeceworks Royal, moving Doug Payne, Boyd Martin, and Leslie Law up in the order. And here is Tammy. This is Tammy with Maybaum from yesterday afternoon, jumping her second clear over Mark Donovan's track here on the Atwood Surfaces Arena. Beautiful new pavilion here as well. If you're ever going to come to an event at Stableview, that pavilion's going to be a huge new addition to things here. This horse, Getaway, and Doug Payne, they jumped clear. They're heading off to represent the United States of America at Boekelo in the Netherlands in just 10 days, but are planning to run today. Boyd Martin, Boyd and Kira, one of 2 rides for him yesterday. He did have poles with Steady Eddie at the end of the day, and here's Leslie Law and Voltaire de Tray, another 9-year-old horse, turning in the clear round here in the Oktoberfest Stableview International Horse Trials. Tell you that just outside those 4 as well, we had Philip Dutton and I'm So Ready. and Philip is on a score of 33.9, but it's very, very close indeed behind, including a couple tied for 10th on 38 penalties.
And again, talking about those time penalties as we look ahead to the cross country, that was a look there at the pair to beat. 70% of this field have never made time at the CIC 3-star level. So it's really a question of who's going to push the clock. Another thing we have to consider is the fact that these riders, in many cases, are using this as a final prep run before a fall CCI, so it might not be part of their plan to go out and really push the clock. So it's really going to come down to which horse and which rider are going to be able to go out there and really put the pedal down.
Yeah, everything is set up for them, though, if they want to do so. It's beautiful, free-draining, sandy soil here that has been very well and carefully prepared by Captain Mark Phillips and Eric Bull's team. Eric, who was the builder for the World Equestrian Games just a fortnight ago in Tryon, North Carolina. And as designer and builder, absolutely heralded for great work up there. And we've got a really nice, interesting CIC course here today. As I said, first time CIC 3-star. We've had advanced here before, so we've got fences of the caliber. It's about setting them up with that little bit more intensity. And maybe the kennel corner out at Fence 8 is one of the places where we have that fence down to drop and then corner. I mean, that caused problems in the advanced previously.
Yes, and I do think that there's room there for error.
So that's Lindsay Beer and Kennystown Frankie, number 414, just wrapping up the advanced division here today. So we are getting ready now to switch over to the very, very similar CIC 3-star track. So looking back here from the Atwood Surfaces Arena, over the first couple of jumps, the first flight, the summer cabin, and then the arena rails. It's the familiar colours of Joe Meyer there getting ready. He'll be our trailblazer with Johnny Royale after the withdrawal of Tammy Smith's Fleeceworks Royal. Tammy's Fleeceworks Royal also goes to Buccolo. And she's felt the horse has done enough cross-country runs thus far. Got a good dressage and show jumping run under their belt here in competition yesterday. So they're all set to go and represent the US at those Nations Cup finals in the Netherlands in 10 days' time. Joe Meyer, US based down in Florida. 2008 Olympian for New Zealand, based in the UK for a very long time. And this horse that he rides here, Johnny Royale, is just 10 years old. Clear cross country at Red Hills at the 3-star level this year, and also at the Fork at the Tryon International Equestrian Centre in North Carolina. Joe just checking his watch. The optimum time 6 minutes and 19 seconds.
And if we look to this pair's CIC 3-star form, they average 7.9 time penalties. Fastest round that they've delivered, 4.8 time penalties at the Fork at Tryon for the World Equestrian Games test event in April.
Well, it's interesting off the advanced. Boyd Martin probably had two of the fastest rounds in the advanced, 10.8 time penalties with his second ride, 6.4 penalties on his early one. This is Joe Meyer on course for New Zealand with Johnny Royale just coming towards the arena for the first time, jumping in over these clipped rails. They're on the safety clips, jumps this on the angle and gets a 6-stride line to the Oxer on the way out. Heading now to that big, beautiful stable view hammock at the next on course. Fence 4, itself the A element of a combination. Clears that chevron table at the B element, goes on to the John Deere fence next of all. John Deere again returning sponsors here. And Joe's just setting this horse up, and that's the way to time penalties, but it's also the way to get the absolute most out of this as a preparatory run, by making sure the horse has the opportunity to read, understand, and learn from every question on course. You just see there, a little bit frisky, drops down into the water. That took Johnny Royale touch by surprise, but they splash through the first water, the pavilion splash, and go on to the kennels area of the course, where we think the real meat of the sandwich is about to start appearing.
Yeah, and when we talk about riders having their plans and a unique way that they're going to tailor this course to their horses, this horse hasn't run since that CIC 3-star at the Fork. He withdrew before Kentucky and has had that whole summer season off. So this is the first international run back. So Joe's going to be looking to just give him a nice ease back into competition after some time off. And they come down the bank here, and there's that corner.
On the 4 strides. And this is a horse that has been a little bit lucky. It's been difficult for Joe to get him to concentrate on a couple of things. He's actually read that very, very well, so that'll be pleasing for them. They jumped that Saltar, that St Andrew's cross fence over the big ditch. 2 beautifully presented fences down there over the pavilion ditch and coming up the hill. And again, Mark Phillips hardly needs recommendation as a very good designer, but there's not a huge amount of terrain here, but he has used the hills, and this is actually a real cross-country test because you have to manage the horses over these hills.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was never going to happen, unfortunately, just running on for him. So the cabin on the mound that he jumped constituted 2 elements of fence 10. And then trying to pick up the next 2 elements there. But just runs past the corner on the left. Sorry, Jenny.
There are 5 corners on this course, so quite a lot of margin for error. When you look at how that is laid out, it invites that left-hand run out and glance off, and that's exactly what we saw there. So Joe Meyer and Johnny Royale now carrying those 20 jumping penalties.
So refusal at 11B it was for Johnny Royale and Joe Meyer for New Zealand. They're just on the alleyway fence now, about to take on Barry's desk, which he sits out here at Stable View and plans the next developments. And Joe will be setting up for the next water jumpers. Nilson Moreira da Silva has left the start box with Muggle. Muggle, his top horse for a long time. Nilson's just completed the World Games with Magnum's Martini the other week, and he's just going that little bit more positively early on the course, but a much more experienced combination at this level. Wavering a little bit through the trees, going to the Stable View hammock. Here's Joe Meyer dropping down into the water and glances off again, a run off to the left-hand side here for Joe. That's through the GL Williams water, glancing off at the C element.
And Captain Mark Phillips has been very clever in the way that he's laid out these lines. It's one of those things where you walk it and it seems to be fairly straightforward, but just the way that he places the fences, uses the undulations to really make things more difficult. It ups the level of technicality, and I think we're going to see more horses and riders getting caught out because of that.
Joe did save himself an effort there as well by coming in on that direct route. There is a black flag alternative further around to the left to give them the approach to the abode as well. Well, this fact hasn't been as positive as we thought. Nilson Moreira da Silva looks to be walking away from the pavilion splash water after problems down there. So it looks like Nilson retires on course with his first ride, Muggle, number 335.
Well, and we said we expected to see time play more of the story today, John, but so far, our first out of the start box, Joe Meyer carrying 40 jumping penalties, our second retiring. That advanced running over the last 2 years did have that 48% clear cross-country rate.
So it leaves Joe alone on the course at the moment. He's down in the academy area, the Stable View Eventing Academy, running each month. There isn't an affiliated competition here. And also chock full of the fences for the lower level courses designed by John Michael Durr this year. So we'll get news of Joe Meyer just soon. And Boyd Martin and Kira are going to be out on course shortly. One from inside our top 5 after dressage and show jumping. Again, Johnny Royale still looking full of run, jumping this triple combination element down at the far end of the course, 17 A, B and C. So Joe Meyer of New Zealand.
So
not far from home.
Yeah, 7 more jumping efforts to go at this point in the course and carrying those 40 jumping penalties. So Joe will be looking to give him a positive experience coming home.
Yeah, as we mentioned again, we hack over the same ground probably a little bit, but we are 10-year-old horse and had most of the summer off since April. So we move on. This, in fact, is Clayton Fredericks on course. It looks like Boyd Martin might actually be moving down the order of go because he did have some advanced rides. We'll get you news of that. But Clayton Fredericks and Luxor here in the Atwood Surfaces Arena just behind us. Clayton, an Olympic and world medalist for Australia, now based in Anthony, Florida. Riding this horse Luxor that Lily Geelan produced to 3-star level at Jersey in May, and then Clayton rode the horse at Great Meadow in Virginia in July.
And they did not complete the cross country at Great Meadow, so looking to complete their first 3-star together as a combination here at Stableview. But of course, Clayton experienced for a number of years.
Coming through the Fitz Academy water is Joe Meyer, very much on his way home. And the horse now has really just settled in for him, has picked up just a very nice rhythmic canter that'll take them all the way home. Joe just getting the setup here for the log pile, just the horseshoe to go to break them home over this course. We'll see how close they get to that optimum time of 6 minutes and 19 seconds. We're carrying 40 jumping penalties. You just see the horseshoe there on the right of shot. We change to the start-finish camera.
So with those 40 jumping penalties, that's not going to give us a good indication of this time and how attainable that optimum time might be. So we'll look to Clayton Fredericks with Luxor, who you see here, to give us a better indication of that time.
So this is down at the kennels area of the course, stepping down off the bank, just dropping down to a little bit of a trot. And Clayton probably just takes one stride more. He goes out nice and wide, rides a big curving line to really present that corner in the best possible way to the horse. Wastes a little bit of time, but definitely, takes any possibility of 20 penalties at the corner out of the equation.
Yeah, that was a masterful line from Clayton, and this horse does only have the 1 3-star run with his owner Lily at Jersey Fresh. If we look to his overall record, averaging 14.8 time penalties. But again, new combination, Clayton's just going to be looking to still get to know the horse, really. And just crawling over that corner a little bit, but gets the B done.
Yeah, I slithered over 11A, but then Clayton said, okay, this trotting and steadying up into fences, this is getting dull. Let's go. And he really went for it over the B element, and it worked out for him. 338 leaving the start box, Leslie Law and Voltaire de Tray. Leslie, another Olympic medalist, twice Olympic silver with the British team, and the Olympic individual gold medalist at Athens 2004. Voltaire de Tray, another 9-year-old horse in our field, 4th at Jersey Fresh in the CCI 3-star in May of this year.
This horse stepped up to the 3-star level this year. If we look to his average time penalties, since he made that move up, you're looking at 12.6. So this would be one in the field who has never made the time at CIC 3-star level.
Yeah, and just to put that in perspective, you get 0.4 of a penalty for each second over, so 12 time penalties is 30 seconds over the time.
And this is a good shot that shows how thick the trees are in certain parts of the course, and that can be difficult when you're looking to make the time. It's hard to go galloping flat out when you have trees that you have to weave in and out. So that's another thing that you have to consider.
Yeah, I think a lot
of
competitors walking back and forward in there as well, just trying to see which trees they were exactly going to go between, because they would have been just looking for the best possible ground in there as well. So clear the John Deere tractor will stay with the camera from the new pavilion all the way to this water with Voltaire de Tray and Leslie Law.
You see him really taking his time to set the horse up. 9 years old, is one of the younger horses in the field. Leslie having so much experience to be able to give him a really nice confidence-boosting ride. And Leslie said that the horse really keeps going from strength to strength, is maturing at a very rapid rate. At Great Meadow in the Nations Cup, he had 8.8 time penalties there on a day when the time was pretty tough. So I'd love to see him put the pedal down a little bit more here, so we'll see if he's really going to go for it. Right now, it looks like he's really taking time to set the horse up and make sure that he can understand and read the questions.
Yeah, he just changed up and down through the gears a little bit on that long gallop, but wants to make sure that he's got a horse that'll come back to him here and will listen for the approach he wants to this corner. Sees a lovely spot there. So Leslie Law and Voltaire de Tray clear the 8th on course. The log ox are banked down and kennels open corner. They jump this saltire fence. The pine top flying cross at 9. And again, Leslie just opens the horse up a little bit. Again, at 9 years old, what Leslie's doing here is when he opens the taps, he wants to make sure that the brakes will work again afterwards. So he's just being pretty careful.
So also doing a great job of getting that done at B. So we saw that causing early trouble for Joe Meyer and Johnny Royale, but our other combinations have been jumping it really well.
So Joe Meyer with the tariff for 93 seconds over the optimum coming in there a moment ago. As we said, it won't be too comparable. We're looking forward to seeing Clayton Fredericks towards the end of the course. Here he is, in fact. This is Clayton Fredericks. 3:37 out in the Academy fields. Autumn Schweiss also on course at the moment with Oktoberfest. So that's one away. At the Fitz Academy water, just jumping the stable view brushes. Getting a little bit all over the first of them is Luxor and Clayton Fredericks. He jumps the second one in fine style. Just a couple to go as he opens up past the hunt boxes.
So this is going to give us a more accurate indicator of that optimum time and how attainable it might be. Since he has been smooth sailing, you see him just about to jump the last there, that'll be a clear jumping round for Clayton and Luxor.
So as Clayton coming home through the finish, we have Autumn Schweiss with us as well, has just jumped the hammock on her way to the pavilion fences. Autumn and Oktoberfest. 3-star debut this year with a clear at the Fork before going on to the CCI at Jersey Fresh. And here they are at the pavilion water. One of the most positive through there, but perhaps a little bit more experienced as a combination together than some we've seen. However, just turning a circle here now. Well, it doesn't look like she's pulled up. I wonder if she's been held on course. I wonder if there's damage to a fence further on.
Yeah, I'm thinking that she's probably been pulled up here. You saw her giving the horse a pat. Yes, we do have a hold on course. We were trying to confirm if there's fence repair taking place.
Well, it must be because we've got a running horse. It is Leslie Law jumping through 17, the triple combination down at the bottom of the course in the Academy fields. So no problems for our competitors that we have seen. Certainly Leslie Law still up on his feet and running. Comes to the step table. Here's Doug Payne waiting in the start box with Getaway as well whilst we have this hold on course. He will be held at the start, Autumn Schweiss, and Oktoberfest being held just after the pavilion water on their way to fence 7, the Elephant Trap.
So the course has been held at some point before Leslie. So he's still going, has not been held up, and making his way home now with Voltaire de Tray.
So Voltaire, the sole Francais, just fussing a little bit about being held up by Leslie as they come to this final water combination.
And we did see Joe Meyer and Johnny Royale having that run out towards the end of the course, but so far for Clayton Fredericks, that was all smooth for him.
And the only thing that might have happened to Leslie Law perhaps is that he's triggered a frangible device which would result in an 11-point penalty. And we'll get more information on that as we go on when we hear that we're going to be restarted. But at the moment, Leslie Law and Voltaire de Tray coming home in good style here off the Oktoberfest Stable View track. So that leaves us with an almost empty course. Autumn Schweiss is out there but not running at the moment, being held on course whilst repairs are being made.
We do have news from control that Leslie Law missed a fence on course, which would be technical elimination. We will confirm that once we have official results. Those will be up on evententries.com if you want to follow along live at home. We are under a hold for fence repair. We are hoping to confirm exactly which fence it is. It could be that Leslie Law could have triggered a frangible pin, which means that the crew would be working hard to repair it.
So just a pretty difficult situation there. Autumn Schweiss actually being held on course. We've just seen Doug Payne as well wandering around at the start with Getaway. And Doug's now in two minds. Do I go back? Do I do another warm-up jump? It's pretty warm here today, so the muscles of the horses all physically warm. Well, a vehicle with musculature is the Jaguar. The Jaguar I-Pace is with us. This is the XF Sport Brake. Again, a wonderful car from the Jaguar Land Rover range, and it is local dealer Columbia that are with us here at Stableview once again for the event, launching the Southeast's Range Rover Velar last year and the Jaguar I-Pace this year, that new amazing electrified SUV. And we are back underway here at Stableview. So Autumn Schweiss has been released on course and be heading out to the kennels combination, that triple at 8A, B and C. And shortly we'll have Doug Payne on course as well. But here is Autumn jumping the big elephant trap. And she is going lickety-split to get really back up and running, to get the horse's mind back in the game. Yeah, just to update you on the Leslie Law situation, it would be actually a 50 penalty situation for Leslie, and that will all be investigated quite thoroughly, but at the moment it looks like he might be picking up 50 penalties. Autumn Schweiss and Oakport Strauss flying over the Pine Top Saltar. And they come now to the Derby Bank as Doug Payne and Getaway leave the start box, one of our top five. Doug, who's had three-star top tens with this horse this year. He is himself a former winner of the 3-star at Jersey Fresh. He jumped a very good clear here in the jumping yesterday afternoon. So Doug sails out over the second fence on course to Summer Cabin. Sets up now for the rails into and out of one of the Atwood Surfaces arenas here at Stableview.
This horse is new to the 3-star level, having stepped up this year. If we look to his runs so far, averaging 6.2 time penalties. But again, as we discussed, this horse is going to Buccalo in 2 weeks, so Doug will be really strategically looking to prepare him with that competition in mind.
Well, he's giving everything feet and inches so far. Really jumping well. But of course, a little bit of energy wasted, time spent in the air wasted as well. But great confidence inspiring from this young horse, the way it sails out over absolutely everything on course. Coming through the pavilion splash, clear of that at 6A and B. So Doug Payne heads on to the big elephant trap.
That's a great aerial view there that shows how big that brush corner actually is.
Here's Doug Payne out at fence 8. He's been riding pretty well for our 3-star competitors so far, and Doug and Getaway are no exception. Clear all the way there.
And that camera angle doesn't really do justice to how big that corner is. It is huge when you walk up to it, but it's riding really well, especially when the riders are giving a little bit more time to angle out on their line so that they can get really the line that they want going into that corner. You see Doug really opening up the horse's stride there.
So it is somewhere here on this Derby Bank that Leslie Law had his problems, just about whether he was in or outside one of the corners, flags on these corners. Doug and Getaway looking pretty good from our angle there through 11A and B at the base of the Derby Bank, and flying off now to the 2 fences on the alley. 12 and 13 on course, the hay rack and then Barry's desk.
So Leslie Law has received 50 jumping penalties and an additional 12.8 time penalties.
So that's 32 seconds over for Leslie. On course, Elisa Wallace and Simply Priceless. Johnny, as he's known. He's quite a veteran of the sport now, is Simply Priceless. Top 10 at Kentucky a couple of years ago, top 10 at Jockey Club in Ocala last November. Elisa, one of the youngest ever Maclay medal finalists in the equitation rings as well.
This is the first time we've seen that horse running back since Kentucky. This is back with Oakport Strauss now.
So Autumn Schweiss with just one to jump with Oakport Strauss to bring it home.
This is one I'm definitely interested to see because if we look at their runs over the last 12 months, they average only 1.9 time penalties. And that does factor in some two-star runs, but I think this could be a speedy one that's going to give us a better indication of how attainable that time is.
Well, hopefully we'll get their time before the end of the division because there will be some calculation to do with them being held on course. But Autumn Schweiss and Oakport Strauss home and dealing well with that hold on course just after only the first 6 jumps. Over the John Deere fence and coming to the Pavilion Splash is Elisa Wallace. No hesitation at all from this experienced horse through the Pavilion Splash. They go on to the Elephant Trap.
This is a speedy thoroughbred. This pair definitely has delivered some lightning fast rounds in the past, averaging 6.7 time penalties at this level. This is their first international run back since Kentucky.
So Clayton Fredericks, 12.4 time penalties we're being told, so that's 31 seconds over the optimum for Clayton. And again, that doesn't hugely surprise me. I think he was, taking things pretty steady out there, building up his relationship with that horse as Doug Payne and Getaway jump 17 A, B, and C down in the Academy fields.
This horse is jumping so well and really just eating it up. You see him hunting the flags through that last combination. And this is exactly the round that Doug wants as he's preparing to go to Buccalo.
Elisa Wallace, Elisa who's travelled as well for the US before now to the 4-star level, just comes up onto the bank. They're all taking that direct route there that ticks off both 10A and B in a single jumping effort, and these two corners are 11A and B. A little bit of a bunny hop out over the second one for Simply Priceless, but they're clear and heading to the alley.
So as we've discussed, 70% of this field has never made the time at 3-star level, but Elisa and Simply Priceless are one of the pairs who have. And Doug is doing everything he can to really shave time off there. You see him opening up the horse's stride between fences.
Jumping the 2 stable view brush walls in the Fitz Academy water. And here's Boyd Martin. Boyd and Kira on course, so just running that little bit late in the order of go, but he did have 2 rides in the only 5-strong national advanced class, so he's been pretty busy already today. Boyd and Kira, 2 international wins with Michael Pollard for this horse and 3-star winners with Boyd at Jersey Fresh in May of this year. Boyd, the 2-time US Olympian, rode at his second World Games a fortnight ago in Tryon, North Carolina.
Boyd won the advanced here at this event last year, and he's the only rider who has ever made the time on the advanced course. He did that with Steady Eddie, who will come later.
So subject to confirmation, but they've done a quick calculation on Autumn's time, and it is 0 for time. 1 second inside, 6 minutes 13 for Autumn Schweiss and Oakport Strauss.
Well, averaging those 1.2 time penalties over the last 12 months, so we knew they were going to be fast. That's really exciting for them.
And hats off to the officials as well for getting all that information back so that we can have a provisional score nice and quick for the held horse. Boyd Martin and Kira just skipping, staying a little bit to the right-hand side all the way through that Pavilion water splash. Going on to the Elephant Trap next of all. It's 2 big, simple, old-fashioned jumps, but absolutely beautifully built over a stone-filled ditch.
This mare is making her second start at the 3-star level. She won her CIC 3-star debut at Jersey Fresh, had 4.8 time penalties on the cross country then.
Probably one of the tightest lines of anyone, and it means he does just get involved with the flag a touch, but it all looks okay there for Kira, and Boyd Martin jumps the center of the X fence over the ditch, the pine top, flying cross at 9.
And you can see the sun really starting to come out there. It is very warm today here in Aiken, high humidity, much like the conditions that we discussed at Tryon for the World Equestrian Games. So that is also going to be something that's going to affect the horses and riders.
This is just getting a little bit wayward here. No. Jumped fast and flat over the fence off the Derby bank. Thought he was just getting it back over 11A, but Kira skips away to the left-hand side of the corner at 11B. So 20 penalties there for Boyd Martin, and that changes our leaderboard. Here's Elisa Wallace down in the Academy Fields with Simply Priceless. At the Fitz Academy Water. They just have to splash across the edge of the water to pick up the second element there.
Well, time in for Doug Payne and Getaway, 6.4 time penalties to add. And that is going to give Tammy Smith and My Bomb even more breathing room.
So that's 16 seconds over for Doug Payne. And I think, the US team guys will be pleased enough to see him jumping so well. And just a few time penalties means that they should be in tip-top shape to go to Buccalo. Elisa Wallace safely home as well. That'll be the next score we get. Here's Boyd Martin really attacking his way through the water there, the GL Williams water, before heading down to the Academy Field.
And he is carrying those 20 jumping penalties, so he'll be looking to get this mare home with a clear round.
It should be Sydney Conley-Elliott. It is indeed. And Cisco 8 jumping the big stable view hammock and its accompanying step table, or chevron table. As I said, now behind the pavilion, coming to the John Deere tractor table. And the first of the 3 water jumps on course.
And this is a pair we know can be very speedy on the clock. They made the time in their last CIC 3-star run at Great Meadow when they represented the U.S. on the Nations Cup team. That was a day when the time was not easy to catch. So this pair can really put the pedal down.
Yeah, that resulted in a top 10 finish in their own right at Great Meadows. They were also third in the CIC at Chat Hills just outside Atlanta, Georgia this spring. So Elisa Wallace, 31 seconds over, 12.4 for time. That's looking pretty familiar sort of time. We're getting a lot in, 31, 32 seconds over the time. So Doug Payne, 16 seconds over, looking in a good way at the moment.
And we have a few more still to come before our overnight leaders are on course, but Tammy Smith now has 28 seconds to play with when she looks to steer My Bomb home towards the win.
Yeah, Doug Payne opening up that margin a little bit. Boyd Martin taking the pressure off as well, as we watch Sid Conley-Elliott here with Cisco 8. Again, a lot of them just really leaping at rather than jumping over that house off the bank. But Sid is one to get it right then, to get everything back in place to take on those 2 tricky corners on the right-hand curving line. So Boyd Martin over one of the stable view brushes. Sets up here through the Fitz Academy water. So jumps the stable brush and the view brush. Separately decorated in there. 2 more jumping efforts to go for Boyd Martin to come home with Kira. Be disappointed to have those 20 jumping penalties earlier on at the Derby Bank fences, but let's see how close he can get to the time. Of course, his advanced winner from Stableview, Steady Eddie, still to come at the end of the division. But that's another one safely home here today. It is Boyd Martin and Kira finishing through the Stableview horseshoe. New starter behind us is Kelsey Briggs. Kelsey and the Gentleman Pirate. Going to the stable view hammock there as we watch. Whilst this is just down at the end of the Academy field, and it will be for Sid Conley Elliott and Cisco Ape. But here the bright colours of the Gentleman Pirate and Kelsey Briggs coming to the Pavilion Splash. Kelsey was clear cross country to her first 3-star at Chattahoochee Hills in Georgia in April. Just hunts a little bit for the second element there out of the water.
This being their second 3-star start, one of the more inexperienced combinations in the field, so they would be one who are going to be looking for a good confidence-boosting clear round.
It's going out pretty wide and pretty steady here. That fence, you see the step table, is on the advanced course. It's not on the CIC 3-star track. They use an effort elsewhere to up the intensity. Looks a little bit at the step down, then it's looking left and right and glances off to the right-hand side, somewhat inevitably there, I'm afraid, for Kelsey Briggs and the Gentleman Pirate.
That was at 8C, that kennel's open corner. And he glanced off again a second time. So that is a second refusal there at 8C for Kelsey Briggs.
Well, that's going to put a total of 60 penalties on their card. It's 20 for the first refusal at a fence and 40 further penalties for a second refusal at the same numbered obstacle. Just looking back down the Academy field from the Fitz Academy water here at Sydney Conley Elliott and Cisco A, very much making their way home. A very positive round for them.
When we look to CIC 3-star form in this field, this pair actually has the best average. Only 4.4 time penalties. That is the lowest average in the field. They've made the time at CIC 3-star level before. Yeah, she's wasting no time in that water there. And you see her up in her irons and really cruising home.
So one coming home, that's Cisco A. We're just hearing John Holling leaving the start box as well with Avoca Druid. The commentator's favourite horse, I think, in this event. We both quite like this one.
And there you see Sydney there over the last, giving Cisco A big pats. Definitely curious about their time. We've just had the one to make it so far, Autumn Schweiss with Oakport Strauss. They were 1 second inside.
19.6 time penalties it was for Boyd Martin and Kira, plus their jumping penalties a moment ago. Over the chevron table here is Avoca Druid and John Holling. John, a World Cup qualifier winner at Red Hills back in the day, a former winner of the CCI at Bromont as well in Canada. Avoca Druid, Pine Top winners at the 2-star level in 2016, and this is actually the horse's first international run since the 2016 season.
Also his first 3-star. So definitely when we talk about riders making their plans and tailoring them to the unique situation for their own horse, this is one that hasn't been running a lot recently, his first 3-star, so John's really going to be looking to build the horse's confidence, really give him every possible chance to really read those lines.
Can confirm that sadly Kelsey Briggs, after those stops at this fence coming up for John Holling, elected to retire, so walking home off the course here at Stableview. Really positive and bold there from Avoca Druid and John Holling as they come back towards the Pine Top Flying Cross at fence 9. 9 of 23 on this course. Just doesn't quite read that, just drops very short over the back rail, right onto the very edge of the ditch. Well, unfortunately, Avoca Druid just grinds to a halt there in front of the first of the corners coming off the Derby bank.
Yeah, and we've really seen this combination causing trouble at 11AB. You see him jumping B there, taking out the flag, but that's all clear there. I think that the corners come up faster than the riders are anticipating, and it's really catching people out there.
Yeah, the position of the house, the first element on the Derby bank itself, is just behind the crest, and I think a lot of horses are jumping across it, over the top of it, rather than actually taking it on as a jump, so they're not getting down into the base of it, and they're almost sort of ski jumping over the top of it, and then they're not quite ready to bottle themselves back up and be ready for the corner. That's, of course, the test.
We have a time in for Sydney Conley Elliott with Cisco 8, 19.6 time penalties to add. So a pair we were looking at to potentially be speedy, but not in their plan today. So back with John Holling and Avoca Druid carrying those 20 jumping penalties from 11A. Yep, the exact same thing we saw happen with Joe Meyer. The horse just bowing out through his shoulder to the left and not able to make that skinny happen. So that will be another 20 jumping penalties for John Holling. This is Ellie McPhail O'Neill as our next out.
Yeah, so 2 greys on the course, Ellie McPhail O'Neill and Zita on the early part of the course. A horse that went up to 3-star in Europe. This is Eleanor's first 3-star with the horse here, riding at Stableview, having done the international 2 stars at Red Hills and at Carolina this spring. So Eleanor, the first in a little while we see here through these pinned rails into and out of the Atwood Surfaces Arena.
This pair have averaged 10.5 time penalties at the 2-star level over the last 12 months, and with this being their first 3 stars, a combination, not one we're really expecting to push the clock. Going to be looking for a good, positive, confident clear.
It's going to be quite an interesting feeling in the start box, though, because I wonder, how many people are worried about their plan A to go out and go steady, because, there's $80,000 in prize money across all the divisions here this weekend at Stableview, and suddenly you go, I could be top 5 in a 3-star, and I could take home some money if I just, push the throttles forward. And, the heat of the moment, Fairhill and Poe and the Carla Jockey Club could go by the wayside because the nearest win is only 6 minutes away.
I'm just taking a look at the scores. Boyd Martin did win the advanced division with On Cue. So he won last year with Crackerjack, now winning again with On Cue. Unfortunately having that trouble with Kira, but he still will come later on with Steady Eddie. So hunting for a piece of that prize money still in this 3-star.
Nice, neat little step off and a beautiful big jump out over the corner there for Eleanor McPhail O'Neill and Zita at fence 8.
Yeah, I love this mare. She's such an incredible jumper, and you see her making a huge effort there over that flying cross.
We'll get Sydney Conley Elliott's score all confirmed, because I did think that I had heard the local announcer announce that it was just 9.6 rather than 19.6 for Sid and Cisco A, which would be quite different. It would be only 24 seconds over for 9.6. Through the Fitz Academy water there. John Holling and Avoca Druid, just 2 more jumping efforts to go for this combination, but unfortunately carrying 40 jumping penalties on course. A real shame the pin just fell out a little bit after the first problems at the corner.
And so far, this trouble that we're seeing on this course is coming from these horses that have less experience at the 3-star level. This horse making his 3-star debut. Not the day that John was hoping for, but I know it's a horse that he's really excited about for the future, and certainly one I'm excited to follow along with as well.
So we'll get a provisional time penalty total for John Holling just shortly. We watch Catherine Rivera and Royal Lufthansa on the early part of the course. New starter. Eleanor McPhail and Catherine Rivera were both on the same score after dressage. Catherine and Royal Lufthansa looking for their first 3-star completion as they jump into the Atwood Surfaces Arena. They were international winners in Tyler, Texas. Oh, very uncomfortable jump there. And quite close. If they just landed on that pole, they would have easily triggered the MIM clip system, the frangible system that breaks away, and incurred themselves 11 penalty points quite early on. They look to improve their jumping as they get more into the meat of this course. So Ellie McPhail, O'Neill and Zita, who we saw a little while ago. And they are further around the course. They were tied for 10th with Clayton Fredericks and Luxor after dressage and jumping. But Clay, we know, had those 30 or so seconds over the optimum earlier on. Jumping through the pavilion splash here is Royal Lufthansa and Catherine Rivera.
This pair have averaged six time penalties at the 2-star level over the last 12 months.
Really, really sticky into that elephant trap, which is actually a fence that's just designed to send them up and over, very like the triple bar in the show jumping. So it's not the place where you expect your horse to drop down, look into the ditch. In fact, the ditch is really only there in the rider's mind, the way the fence is presented. It's a very, very shallow, steep angle.
Yeah, I'd really like to see Catherine riding more forward here.
Just drops down into the middle of that oxer. That is a fall, and unfortunately no further participation for Catherine today. And she's broken the back rail off the frangibles. I think they'll both be quite quickly back up on their feet over there at the end of the course. But it means that Mybaum and Tammy Smith will be held in the start. And just one on course, and that's Ellie McPhail, O'Neill and Zita, going towards the Fitz Academy water. And confirmation from out on the course that both horse and rider, Catherine Rivera and Royal Lufthansa, both back up on their feet after that fall out at the kennel combination at 8.
They did break the frangible pin there at that open oxer at fence 8A, so there will be a fence repair there. That happened early on the course from where we see Ellie here now, so she's continuing on.
Yeah, Ellie just coming to this Fitz Britches water. Fitz supporters across the season and across the year here in North America. Great to have them as sponsors of the Academy Splash down here at Stableview in the Oktoberfest. So Ali McPhail and Zita making light work of those two brush boxes either side of the water splash at the Fitz Academy, going past the hunt boxes and new build here on the Stableview property to this second last on course. Log pile table and just the horseshoe to go for Elna McPhail O'Neill and Zita, our only competitor on the course at the moment. And once we have everything confirmed back in order down at fence 8, it will be the turn of Tammy Smith and Mybaum to leave the start box and try and defend the lead they have held since dressage here at the Stableview Oktoberfest. So 21.6 was the time penalties for John Holling, so just inside a minute over the time, including those 40 jumping penalties with Avoca Druid.
You see a big smile there for Ellie. She's finishing up.
So the work for the rest of the team begins straight away, just looking after these equine athletes, making sure they're cooled down, warmed down, both in terms of physical temperature and their muscles. And in many cases, in what we would call the longer format, we would be show jumping after cross country on the next day. So again, that would be a time to prepare the horse for the final day's jumping. Here in the short format, we've jumped before we do the cross country, so this is their final test, and these horses will be get set really to go home. And for many of them, that's a decent amount of travelling. I mean, we know from Pennsylvania down 10-hour trip home for those who've come from up there. Well, as we said, Columbia Jaguar Land Rover are once again sponsors with us here at Stableview, showcasing in the Atwood Surfaces Arena here by the pavilion, the Jaguar XF Sport Brake, and that's one of the S models as well. But also here this weekend we have one of just 10 I-Pace models in North America, their new all-electric SUV, and being launched. Won't actually be on the market for a short while, but one of only 10 in the country. The only one in the southeast is with us this weekend at Stableview. And I know, for instance, back home, the Prince of Wales has just started using an I-Pace as his mode of transport around London and that sort of area. So the course repair underway out there at Fence 8, just going to be setting back up those MIM clips out there, and we can see the team. And actually one of the beauties of the MIM clip and frangible system is how quickly you can reset a big rail like this. Eric Bull's team working hard out there, and what they want to make sure is not only that it's quickly set back up, but correctly set back up so that it will trigger if necessary should we have any further problems. That's a nice aerial view there as well of the GL Williams water, which we've seen a couple of problems at. That's the one with the boat right in the middle. It's actually quite close to the start finish as well, which for some of the competitors, that can be a big issue, just making sure the horses aren't looking at the start and finish going, oh, right, I understand where I am. It's like, no, we've got these 3 fences to jump. Concentrate on these. These are important.
And you can see the crew there. They shoved that log back into place, and now they'll secure that frangible technology. And that frangible pin there, that did exactly what it was supposed to when Catherine just got underpowered going into that fence with Royal Lufthansa, and the back rail fell right away. Horse was totally fine, but we do have that hold on course at AA for continued fence repair.
Well, we didn't see it, but Eleanor McPhail O'Neill and Zita are being reported to have had 20 jumping penalties out on course, plus a further 27.6 time. So that will put Zita and Ellie McPhail O'Neill down the order here.
And our overnight leaders, Tammy Smith and Mybom, are held at the start box while we wait for this fence repair to be completed. After Doug Payne and Getaway had those 6.8 time penalties, Tammy now has more breathing room. She can now afford 28 seconds over the optimum time and still win. I think that this is going to be a happy day for Tammy and Mybom's crew.
So Tammy Smith, the first of those waiting to go out of the start box. We've also got Ashley Kehoe, Philip Dutton, Nilson Moreira da Silva once again, Jenny Karras and Boyd Martin with Steady Eddie to come as well. As we look down across the entire Stableview property.
Still just the one pair to make that optimum time of 6 minutes and 19 seconds. That was Autumn Schweiss with Oakport Strauss. They were sitting 19th after the show jumping. That is going to scoot them right up the leaderboard, considering how we're seeing these time penalties stack up. And the prize money is going down to 10th place. So it's definitely a good day to be getting a check if you can really push the clock, John.
Well, the buggies moving away from the jump, so that means that we should be shortly able to instruct the start box to let go our next competitor, and it's an important one. Tammy Smith, Tammy and Mybom, and bad news, of course, for Catherine Rivera and Royal Lufthansa. The good news for us is that we will be able to see quite a lot of Tammy, and here we go. She's on course. Dressage leader, clearing the show jumping. Mybom and Tammy looking to match a North American record for the number of wins in a row at the international level. Tammy and Mybom together were 3 times the 3-star winner in the 2015 season alone, including the National 3-Star Championships, the CCI at Fair Hill in Maryland.
Yeah, looking to make it 6 international wins in a row. This is the first time we've seen them back at 3-star level since they won Fair Hill CCI 3-star in 2015.
They did this year win the Adequan USEA Gold Cup, the Advanced National Championships in Parker, Colorado. That was at the beginning of September.
Yeah, so just a few weeks ago, that was his first run back in advanced. Following that long period of time off, had 1.6 time penalties there. Tammy made it clear she intends to push the clock here. They've never made the time at CIC 3-star level, averaging 5.7 time penalties. But as we said, Tammy can afford 28 seconds over the time and still win. Yeah, it's a great shot there of the horse jumping over that elephant trap. It's just such an amazing story of rehabilitating this horse for so many years to bring him back to this level. You know, his owners are watching at home in California, and when you have a horse like this who's rehabilitating, it really speaks to the owners having that patience and that belief and really giving the horse all the time that he needs to come back. And doesn't he look fantastic?
Well, jumping almost the widest part of that corner coming off the kennels, because where Tammy pointed him, he went. He wasn't getting involved in the flag over in the right-hand side, just jumped exactly plumb in the middle and really opening out here. And again, you know, the tactics, the balancing act here. Tammy knows as well as anyone that she has more than 25 seconds in hand. But by the same token, oi, oi, oi. No, whether she was inside or outside that first flag, she is plumb caught by the second one over there at fence 11. So it's a definite 20 penalties at 11B. It might also be 50 penalties at 11A. We are looking side on at that flag, so it's very, very difficult to tell. But what I was going to go on to say is, like, when things were going well for this horse, the tactic, the plan might have been, we want to confirm the rehabilitation. So we want to actually not just use up that 25 seconds. We want to go to our original plan, how fast we were planning to go. Now it's dropped down into a slightly lower gear, as Tammy Smith and Maibaum are carrying at least 20 penalties from the Derby Bank. 3:48 on course, Ashley Keogh and Kilteely toss-up. And Philip Dutton and I'm So Ready are now, I think, the only combination who could really come through and take the win away from Doug Payne and get away, of course, Steady Eddie and Boyd Martin in with a good shout as well.
There you see Tammy Smith carrying on with My Bomb. Those would be the first cross-country jumping penalties the horse has ever had at 3-star level, so a big moment here as they were looking to extend that international win streak to 6 in a row.
So Ashley Keogh and Kilteely toss-up, jumping the big Stable View hammock. Combination with top 15 in the CCI level at Jersey Fresh in May, and last year clear cross country at Jockey Club in Ocala, Florida. They jumped the John Deere table on their way to the Pavilion Lake. We just see this almost as replay from our drone footage, and you can see the relationship then between that fence just in front of the new pavilion. It's a huge addition to the gathering place ethos of Barry and Cindy's property here at Stableview.
These two average 12.7 time penalties at this level.
Just going on to the corner there, Ashley Keogh. We move back to look at Maibaum and Tammy Smith out in the academy fields. Going to the big step table at 18 before they come back up by the barns on their way to the Fitz Academy Water.
So Philip Dutton going out of the start box with I'm So Ready. Here's the scenario. They can afford to be 4 seconds over the time and still win, but the horse has only made the optimum time at CIC 3-star level once in his career, so that would be a big ask for them. They average 7.8 time penalties, so Philip would have to deliver one of the fastest rounds of his partnership with this horse in order to seal the deal on the win.
So the 6-time US Olympian, bronze medalist at Rio, riding I'm So Ready, a combination, a horse that won the Carolina International and Rayford for him in the 2015 season, 11th at Bromont in their August 3-star. Ashley Keogh at the Columbia Jaguar Land Rover Water Complex.
Yeah, she took a great inside line there and got a great shot at that triple brush. You see her giving him a nice pat there.
So Ashley going on to the next on course. It's going to be fence 15, a double brush to brush corner combination. Next place we usually see our competitors then is fence 17, but here's I'm So Ready and Philip Dutton jumping into the pavilion water splash. Very nicely done through there. A couple of horses, and I'm So Ready was one of them, just a little bit of an awkward jump into and out of the arena, and I think because they're jumping over basically a rails over a flower bed that marks the edge of the arena, they're jumping off grass and turf onto the Atwood equestrian surfaces. So a lot of horses just looking at that a lot more than they would anything else on cross country, and it comes so early on the course as well. They haven't really necessarily engaged their cross country chip in their brain. So Philip has jumped an extra fence at fence 8. I'm trying to remember the rule because I don't believe there's a crossed flag on that fence. So in fact, he has literally just jumped a hazard, and it will only be penalised on time. If there was a crossed flag on it to indicate that it was clearly not on the course, then he's eliminated for jumping a fence not on his course. And the reason I'm not 100% sure is that I know nationally in Great Britain we have a different rule to the international one, and I can never remember which way around is which.
Yeah, I think he might have just picked himself up a yellow card, but he's still clear and moving on since there was not a cross flag on that. So things getting even more interesting for Philip Dutton here. He is the only rider that can overtake Doug Payne to win this 3-star. In 12 runs at CIC 3-star level for this pair, they've only made the time once. That was at Carolina International when they won back in 2015. We see Nilson Moreira da Silva setting out now with Cash. He retired very early on the course with Muggle, but returns now with his second ride.
Yeah, Cash, horse he rode at Barbary in Great Britain at the 3-star level over a Captain Mark Phillips track in 2016. They were 4th at Chat Hills in April of this year. So the provisional score to beat is 35.2. That's Doug Payne and Getaways after cross-country score. And as Jenny says, only Philip Dutton and I'm So Ready can best that. Steady Eddie and Boyd Martin will be starting cross-country on 36.8, so they're already in arrears. Cash and Nilson Moreira da Silva going to the stable view hammock at 4. Just hearing that Ashley Keogh and Kilteely Toss-Up have jumped the last. Here they are, just starting their warm down, having jumped through the stable view horseshoe at fence 23 on course.
We will bring you a time for them when we have it. We do have the time for Tammy Smith and My Bomb, only adding 4 time penalties. But unfortunately, the 20 jumping penalties derailed their hopes to make it 6 international wins in a row.
Yeah, and I mean, as we say, that's probably a minimum of 20 penalties. There's very likely to be 50 penalties at the A element as well. I know that's being looked into. So just 10 seconds over the time for Tammy to give those 4 time penalties and a minimum of 20 jumping. Nilson Moreira da Silva and Cash, the Brazilian Championship rider, just going around this step table. As you can see, it does have the blue numbers on it, but indicating it's only on the advanced course. The 3-star does have 3-star indications on their blue numbers. As Nilsson jumps 8 A, B and C, coming back from the kennels area of the course to the Pine Top Flying Cross.
This pair averages 7.7 time penalties at the level, so would be one of the faster pairs.
So here's Philip Dutton. Philip and I'm So Ready. Just setting up, just jumping that first stable view brush onto the tree. And now jumping through the Fitz Academy water. Just hearing a provisional of 8.4 for Ashley Keogh and Kilteely toss-up, which would be 21 seconds over the optimum for Ashley.
He can only afford 1.6 time penalties to win. This horse is going to Poe for the 4-star next month, so Philip is prepping him for that and does not look to be wasting a whole lot of time. He is the only one who can dethrone Doug Payne and Getaway.
So clear through the horseshoe. Safely home for I'm So Ready. And Philip Dutton, the question is, how close was he to the 6 minutes 19 optimum time? We're just hearing news that Nilson Moreira da Silva has retired on course with cash. So Nilson won't complete here today. And that's going to leave Jenny Karras on course on her own. Fernhill Fortitude just jumping into the Atwood Surfaces Arena at 3A and B. Jenny and Fernhill Fortitude. Jenny was a bronze and gold medalist at young rider level and won the Bromont CCI 3-star this year. Hope she wasn't tempting fate, but she was our expert for the cross-country flyover as well, giving her opinion on how this course would ride today.
This pair has more experience at the CIC 3-star level than any other pairs in the field. 15 completed runs in this format. 9.4 time penalties is their average, so wouldn't be one of the faster pairs when we're looking to speedy combinations. They are gearing up for Fairhill CCI 3-stars, their goal for the fall. So another pair using Captain Mark Phillips' Stable View course to prepare for that fall CCI.
Yeah, and most of those horses would be in a very similar point in their calendar. Buccalo, Fairhill and Poe all coming up pretty close together in the calendar. It's the horses that are preparing for Jockey Club that maybe have a few more weekends under their belt, because it comes just about 3 weeks later than those other events.
So you're coming down the bank and over that big open corner. The horse is jumping so well, ears pricked.
And Boyd is our last to go. Boyd and Steady Eddie. We saw Boyd in the start box when Philip Dutton was finishing. So he'll be standing by for his countdown as Jenny Karras and Fernhill Fortitude come up onto the Derby bank. Gets deep into it, more by luck than judgment, but it helps set them up a little bit better for these corners than some. Just felt like that was going to drift to the right, but Fernhill Fortitude just locked on to the second corner and jumped away at it. But so many horses looking to take off over that little house from the crest of the hill on the Derby bank. And Boyd Martin and Steady Eddie are away. A very experienced 4-star horse here, Steady Eddie, with Boyd aboard. As we said, Boyd, Pan Am's medalist, World Games rider. So we have a score for Philip Dutton. You said he could only afford 1.6 time penalties.
Yes.
He is 10 seconds over 4 time penalties. Doug Payne and Getaway are, by our reckoning, provisional scoring only, but they are the winners of the inaugural Oktoberfest International 3-star here in Aiken, South Carolina. And that's good enough, a local win.
Yep, and what a way to go into Buccalo, where he will represent the U.S. So thrilled for Doug. Wow, a huge jump there for Steady Eddie. They actually just came right by us. Our commentary booth is right by that arena combination. Our last on course, and a speedy one, they average 4.7 time penalties at the CIC 3-star format. That is the second fastest average in this field.
And Boyd, we saw Leslie Law getting involved in some of those trees on the way to the Stable View hammock earlier on. Boyd just crashes right through a couple of them. He'd chosen his line and he was sticking to it. At the Pavilion Water Splash. Clear there at 6A and B. So Jenny Karras and Fernhill Fortitude in front of Boyd. They'd be through the Columbia Jaguar Land Rover Water at 14. We'll be picking them up down in the Academy fields just shortly, but watching Steady Eddie here, he can't quite snatch the win from Doug Payne, even if he manages to catch the time here today. But he will come very, very close then. I think inside the time would deliver second place for Boyd.
And he did win the advanced earlier in the day with On Cue, so already having a great day here at Stable View.
Just drifts a little bit across the face of that corner, pushing the red flag on the right-hand side away. Here's Jenny down at 17, A, B, and C. So that corner in the middle element there, one of 7 corner questions on this course.
We've seen this combination causing a lot of trouble today. And Boyd Martin really getting gritty and getting it done there with Steady Eddie.
And again, just losing a little bit of footing there on the turn, and that actually maybe nearly helped them because they ran, it took a little bit of inertia, a little bit of energy out of the canter, and it just allowed Boyd to tidy up the line to the second corner at the last minute. But, I mean, it's a rider of Boyd's caliber that can take advantage of a situation like that in the split moment. So Jenny Karras, Jenny on her way to the Stable View Water. Ashley Keogh now being more confirmed, still provisional, but more confirmed at 16 time penalties. We were being told 8.4 for her earlier on, but 16 coming through now. Jenny Karras jumps through the Fitzbridges Water out in the Academy fields. Comes to the Hunt Boxers log pile at 22.
You can see her galloping for home now. They had 4 time penalties at Jersey Fresh in the CIC 3-star, so we have seen them getting faster at this format. You can see her checking her clock there.
Also, a change. We did say we were doing provisionals. Philip Dutton is now provisionally inside the time on 0 faults, and therefore Philip Dutton would be the winner of the Stable View Oktoberfest 3-star. We're just going to keep you appraised of that, but information coming in live as it happens, so I'm sorry if we're changing things for you, but that is the information that is available here at the event, and that's what we're giving to you as soon as we have it to hand. So Boyd Martin and Steady Eddie alone on the course. Jenny Karras and Fernhill Fortitude have just finished.
We don't.
Clear, 17, A, B, and C. Boyd Martin and Steady Eddie. This horse being prepared for another 4-star run this year at Pau in southwest France. A Pierre Michelet track out there. And quite similar to here as well. Not a huge amount of terrain, very sandy soil. You just see there how wide that step table is at fence 18 for these competitors. He's just going to go around the edge of this beltwood on his way back up the Academy field.
So he is gunning for a top 3 finish here. Doesn't look to me like he's been wasting a whole lot of time, John.
No, and again, you know, slightly like the dressage and the jumping, this is all well within Steady Eddie's capability. It's literally down to what Boyd is prepared to do today on the path to Pau. And it looks like he's riding pretty determinedly. And, you know, around a 6 minutes 19 course, a really experienced 4-star horse like this shouldn't necessarily struggle to get the time if that's what the rider wants and if that's what suits their preparation program. Just 1 to go. He goes right to the right-hand side, knocks some of the decoration off over by the red flag, but just wants to shave every second on his way home, thinking about 6 minutes 19.
also thinking about a chunk of that $80,000 in prize money that's being awarded here at Stableview.
So 9.6 is the provisional time total for Jenny Karras and Fernhill Fortitude. Boyd Martin safely home with Steady Eddie with another clear. Interesting, we're still not going to have had a huge percentage of clears, because what was 48% in the advanced in the past, we've had certainly 2 clears inside the time on the information we've been given, but not a huge amount more of clears over the course.
No, so I think we were expecting time to be more influential, but really the course rode a lot tougher than we were expecting. That combination of fence 10 really catching a lot of people out. So definitely a lot of action going on out there, and we still do not know for sure who the winner is.
Such is the joy of eventing. But just look at this facility. Stableview has stepped up onto the international stage in fine style with this inaugural Oktoberfest International 3-star. And what a great day of sport we've had. What an interesting day of sport as well. That Derby Bank just proving the death knell of many hopes and dreams here this afternoon, not least Maibaum and Tammy Smith, who are riding for a North American record in terms of a run of wins at the international level. But we've seen a great field of horses and riders. We've seen a great result, and we will have on social media through EQTV Network and, of course, Eventing Nation later on interviews with our winners, Doug Payne, Philip Dutton. At the moment, we're being told Philip Dutton, and I think it will stay like that. One of only 2 clears inside the time on information we have. Thank you so much for being part of our broadcast. My thanks, and great to work with Jenny Autry finally in the commentary booth. And we look forward to talking to you again on another EQTV Network production quite soon. Bye for now.
Come on into Land Rover Columbia to learn about our amazing limited time offers. Now to the end of September, you can lease the all-new 2017 Land Rover Discovery Sport HSE model for only $359 a month. Or lease the all-new 2017 Land Rover Range Rover Evoque SE Premium model for only $369 a month. So come on into Land Rover Columbia and see what we can do for you.